doing warnings. We've got until about 5 o'clock, so about an hour. And without anything else, I'm going to hand over to Joseph and the team, at least those people who have come back from training, to tell us about the warnings API.
Already. Can you just share your screen?
Yeah, hello everybody. It's maybe not the easiest time slot to have a presentation in. What the chairman said, the expectations high regarding energy levels and stuff.
Yeah, where's the
so
disco?
People had different strategies.
Right, with the yoga.
Some were out in the sun, some had the coffee, some did yoga, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'd like to invite everybody to follow along with the, so we prepared some examples to use the MeteoGate API. And I pasted some data in the chat. So you can just copy paste it and jump right in. So first we look at some basics like where you can find documentation, which API key to use, but essentially I just already pasted that. Then we'll have 3 tasks, and then there will be probably time for some questions. We will interact with the MeteoGate test system, and we'll also be able to send warnings there. So, for the 3 of us, so we can see the notifications happening in real time. Yeah, so I pasted all of that data in the chat. Regarding the date and time formats, I gave an example here. That's ISO 8601 time. Probably most of you will be familiar with that. It has date, time, and the time zone offset. We will use the local time, which I believe is Central European Summer Time in Oslo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, task number 1. I would like to retrieve the warning sent during the last 3 hours. And so we'll use the MeteoGate API for this. And you can use any HTTP client you'd like, but we found one that's easy to use online without registration. So let's use that one. And yeah, we'll pause the presentation, and if you have any questions, we'll walk around and help. So you've given all the data, like which endpoint it is, the authorization you need, the query parameters. The query parameters are part of the URL, so it's not sent in the body, it's a GET request. And once you've submitted that request, you should see all the warnings sent during the last 3 hours. So, any questions?
Yeah, so the authorization key there, when we put that in, do we have to put bearer space, blah, blah, blah?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, you can also add it as a query parameter, token equals, and then the token part is also executed.
Is there a way for you to save us the typing of the
Yes,
URL?
please look at the chat.
Ah, thanks.
Isn't it great when people got quick answers?
In Helsinki, we put this to the API gateway. And if you go through that way, then you don't need to deal with their token.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of. They're usually real things, so it's not set up. So. Okay. Of course, you could make this easier, just use Swagger, but we thought it might be interesting to use the users, yeah. It works?
Very fast.
Maybe one thing to mention that the last part of the URL is locations/all. All could be replaced by any country code, so like HU, AT, whatever. And if you happen to have some warnings in your test system, then you could reach it only those like that. So all represents all of Europe.
Any luck getting?
Not quite yet.
Yes, as I mentioned, the query parameters should be sent as like after the question mark and separated by ampersand. But most the API tool we suggested does that, so it has a section for query parameters. Maybe I could start doing that. So I'll slowly start filling everything in. So we need
I'm amused that I can't follow instructions.
So whatever I include here will then be sent as part of the URL. So request to get.
I just put my following request in the chat, right?
In the chat.
Yeah, so I'm using a request header override in the router, so that works fine. So I've got my authorization there. I know it works because I don't say that I'm not authorized. Right? And so
Yeah, this needs to be URL encoded.
oh, okay, so that'll be
I think there are online services.
so that'll be
It looks good to me.
so it needs to be URL encoded.
Yes.
I have a
What date should we use to find something? The given date.
Sorry, did I make a mistake? So
Maybe I
it's
just
13
yeah 30
and the same day. 12, sorry. 13 hours.
like this.
Yeah, and maybe here the same day and 16. That's the day.
Start with. Let me just check if it's 16. Yeah. So date example.
That's just an example.
Okay, this should be before. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Case for
where is the open API spec?
It's if you.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's entered without any pass.
Here.
Yeah, also not taking that's the subdomain is inserted. Without the segment.
I guess this
Probably
Oh, yeah.
so you can try it out, but at the moment it's
Yeah, but it's
separate
not
signal.
but it doesn't. I think Swagger uses an underlying integrated APIs in JSON.
Yeah, or YAML or whatever.
Yeah, oh yeah, yes, exactly. So I just wonder, I think, in order to comply, shouldn't be, but then,
There's also a machine reader.
the YAML itself, yeah, the machine reader.
There's a machine reader version as well, but if you're using the browser, you're getting.
Okay, so, so.
You're getting the browser
you
version.
can still browse through it. What
Yeah, but
is
see
there
here,
and see.
here, I think it's the YAML.
Okay,
Open
okay.
API space.
Really?
As long as
I think so, yes.
same thing they do with the IDX.
No, pretty sure.
Yeah, that we, it will be at the moment, this documentation of Karen on the same portal using a standard Swagger library.
Oh,
Yeah, then you can do it.
Yeah.
Thanks for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's expected, there's no thing there.
Let's check dates.
The same syntax as in before. No, it's and it's midnight and then it's a couple of.
But say midnight is like already past. Or the next day.
Oh, yes.
After
You need
the.
to switch these around. That's pretty obvious.
So we have slash EDR.
It's an inverted.
Yeah.
So,
Some problem with
Thomas?
Yeah.
The country code could be,
yeah,
is
the-
the two-letter country code, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what we can try next. So.
Do you know where there are warnings currently?
Yes, you could try 80.
80.
Yeah, there was some, previously there was that problem. That's same problem with some other.
Then if you scroll
Because
all the way down,
the request.
there's some
Not used.
page metadata. So in this case, it's large enough.
But that's the thing, so it's hopefully if you try.
Yeah.
Like for example, now we have in that time range, we have 24 results. The results means a feature with warning data attached to it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I got, I did it from midnight to 7 minutes ago. I got 26.
26, there's a test system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just shamelessly copy what my colleague did before. And actually, that's a warning we issued ourselves. See that the GeoJSON playground also displays the properties. Then, of course, it contains a link. We can use that to get the actual warning. So that's the actual warning data. I use the link. So the link with the expiration date as discussed. So it's valid for an hour. And I use that link to get the actual warning data.
So any questions regarding the task number 1? Not the case, we can get to the next, and if you have questions regarding task 1, you can still ask them because it's just refinement. So now we would like to restrict the previous query to only yellow warnings that are active right now. So in this case, we need to add 2 query parameters given here, and this will restrict the result set and then submit the request. Maybe I'll also paste in this value. So I paste the filter value in the chat if I can find it. Anybody know how to find the chat? Full screen mode. Oh yeah, here it is. So I pasted these 2 semicolon yellow semicolon moderating to the chat. That's kind of a leftover from the old system. It's called like that. Nowadays we derive this color actually from some other parameters.
Are there spaces? Are there spaces in there?
Yes.
And they need to be URL encoded as well?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Is it 20?
Huh?
I'm not, is it 20% 20? I'm not sure. But if you're using a tool like that one, then the tool will encode the parameters for you.
What was the query parameter?
That was active.
Oh, wait, right.
That goes along the send before and send after. There's just 2 additional parameters.
Okay. Could you cut and paste those bits of text into the...
I didn't. Not the time, but
yeah. Excuse me.
Any luck with that? Any luck?
I'm very good at something, yes, if you don't mind.
Any
So,
questions?
yeah.
Question regarding
But the location quality
tests.
compliance is.
Ah, yeah. Send after, send before, still needed. So it's just adding these two.
What do you want to bring here?
The
It's a channel.
But
There's something else here.
probably
those are the ones
it's here. That's system.
Yeah, exactly. And you have, we have the same customer.
And it's
Yeah, so
But these for us are always required. As I sent after and sent before. And
couldn't you use the date?
I know, yeah,
system.
It's just.
we have 4 different.
It's.
And we have the one in the database, so we have
Can you go back to that?
What do you, here, X?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have to last it.
it was like
So it means that
yeah,
you are
I guess-
not able to use the date.
I would expect to retrieve the data that
okay.
the test system.
So you have to map the date on
Probably the same way as.
I mean, the temporal axis.
Even if you want to have a look at what you just sent, kind of. Or,
Yeah.
because, I mean, there are also
Maybe
other
that
possible
the
ways
one
you can
that
do
you already said that is
something
the
that with
requirements.
Yeah.
Because
So instead of recording, send
you
off,
just
but
send
you
one
should-
template. Okay.
You can
I
still
mean,
have
but like the first thing you can always check is if you something.
But the other one is
there,
required.
and then you can
Yes.
go to the.
And also these custom dimensions, they are not about
feeds because also.
no, they are not mentioned in the metadata for the collection. So you have this kind of custom dimensions.
And then it should
They
also
should
be in there.
be
Okay.
mentioned.
And for example, if you want to have, for example, want to see the cut message, and then for example, you can also do it here. You don't have any warning right away, but I will check, show you how it's done, for example. Because then here you have the feed, this is going to be the feed, so you have to, yeah, you can, okay, and then it depends what country you're interested in, where you can have the warning. It's out of Austria because in the US, and then it looks the same every day. You have here the link to the real file. So I just paste this one,
But
and then here is the real cut file.
no, parameter names.
For example, if you send to the systems, then you can look at the way how it works, or have a look at it.
You could make it with one
But of course, like a practically honest, saying it now, you can almost like you could do MQTT subscription.
Yeah,
Then you can also send a C.
yeah.
But the problem try to do the location for without anything. It's a simple need, but this one is. There's no mention in that.
So any questions regarding that second part? No.
So they are.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of adding two parameters. Since this getting a bit boring maybe, we'll now try to subscribe via MQTT, like to our topic called real-time all. You can use any MQTT client of choice. Here I'm recommending MQTT-X that you could install if it didn't have any other client. Using it in the browser is not possible, unfortunately, because we don't support WebSockets at the moment. So would
Which
be
is the same as
I'm not sure if it's
directly
the same.
So you have to have a 10%.
And so we have all the data here needed: the host name, the protocol, the port number, username, token, and also the topic that you write.
This is the name of the custom planners. Your guess.
Good luck if you have any questions. Please let us know.
And there's also we wrap that I can send it to a REST API and we also have configuration, but
The screen is related to Firefox.
They have other things here.
Okay, thank you. I will use this as MeteoGate. Okay.
You can check also the this critical.
yeah. Really I can
And I would of course have to since we have advertised the temporal extent, it should be possible to use. I didn't actually test if it's mapped to anything, but
In that case, the price.
but here it says that this one is required. So I would not get. You can still have this as a custom plans. Yeah,
There's no way to submit
okay. In your case, it's very much needed.
It's regular.
You
You have to do it.
Yeah. Parts that are.
Yeah, asking for the case if I lost it.
But then it's all it's not very clear, but we could have both. And require one or the other, right?
Yeah. And it helps if you advertise.
Yeah, that's one.
Then the
For
client
instance,
can
like, you don't know.
possibilities.
Yeah, I would
Normally it's
a little bit of more discoverability of those things. For instance, here.
Even
One thing to
Like the documentation for the.
yes, in the custom,
Yeah.
you cannot state that this is my
You get
so that's why.
But I mean,
somewhere
I mean, as I say, we anyway plan to kind
This is
of
this convention where you have the
we call it
info
secure. I don't know if you're aware of it, but it's
Data
kind of
with
like
up
of
to
improvements kind of.
In data,
Regarding the security, but also regarding repositories.
Is that one
At
open?
one point, where we go to, there's all the information.
Okay, yeah, but
But
this
this
is
is
very
the work in progress,
but
but
if it's
yeah,
already.
yeah, or that to be able to find those things.
yeah, I understand. I mean, I think
Yeah, you can.
Should we?
right now, I can still maybe because with new cut profile, we can.
Any luck subscribing? Whoever tried?
This documentation about the cut profile, you know, like,
So my trouble is I don't have a device that can
This is
use
I
that
think
port.
that's how I found it.
Okay.
Eventually.
Well, except my phone, and I refuse to type in that
Yeah.
key, that password on my phone.
Okay, that's understandable.
if you have an iPhone,
yeah.
if you want to learn something today, just take a picture of that and then copy paste that token.
Oh, okay.
Ah, yeah, here.
You can also try offline. You can also try offline. Yeah.
It takes some time.
Anyway, it's another
We now send the warning to the hub, and you should see it here. Now 16:24. So, drum roll or countdown. So I'm sending now.
This is XML5.
Yeah. So I'm sending another one. You should see this popping up. Anybody see the message? Certainly showed up in my client here.
Is it still any air left?
It feels quite tense here.
We could,
I open it because there's
the
no
door
house.
could,
Yeah.
go.
18. Segments, yeah.
Okay, this is, we do each one for the languages.
Yeah, that's a good approach. I would say, yeah.
But there's nothing stopping me from basically giving all those different categories into one.
So anybody received?
I still have a bad username and password.
More bad news. Okay, we can end it.
Yeah.
Same event.
Yeah. I mean, I would say if we, for example, do an app, then it should be that you should upload regions that have the same hazard and the same awareness level. Like one.
Okay, so this concludes our
You have multiple regions, but only one hazard and only one severity level.
Thanks for your attention.
I mean, because otherwise it would be difficult to track this, you know.
So I have a small question to Nico.
I said this is important.
So how does this compare to the getting warning to GeoWeb?
If you want.
Yeah, we have been discussing that.
Because
You just agreed on some
Yeah.
changes. In the meantime. Yeah.
Okay, that's
that's fine. Some things are missing in the metadata. And then probably visual.
but it's within reach.
Yes.
But they can also do
These
the
changes
one
are not
that
too
has right
difficult.
now an orange.
And now it's clear what to do, so
So you then you can
try to accomplish it in
you
a
make
very
an update.
short time.
You-
But I think that's important for
all of them will get
for getting
you
this
will want to change to red
operational service used by pathologists
Yeah, but so.
why this here.
I guess it's something we currently.
being able to show it in
Our
GeoWeb.
approach of
Yeah, basically useful.
pretty much, we are conceptualizing areas and timeline of what happens with that area.
So,
Pretty much,
yeah.
we-
No questions? We have a summary of the day.
But we have but we will issue a new warning every 3 hours, even though the need is still
No, I'm filled up.
Yeah. For most of the stuff, it didn't cover the,
But I'm not sure how it's failing, so it seems that we have had some discussions. It's been on another level than usually.
Okay, everybody. So, we've unmuted. So, for those of you who are still online, I think we're still recording the session. Yes, we are. Okay, so what have we learned? We've learned how to find the endpoints for the warnings API. We've tried to get hold of some content. We've done a query which selected active warnings at moderate yellow level. Interestingly, one's lowercase and one's uppercase.
We cannot. I mean, we could define it as case sensitive, but that's kind of a legacy.
Yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah, we don't know where this comes from.
Yeah, history. Just blame the previous guy, right? Poor old Johannes. Yeah.
Part of European culture. By now, all the European countries are using it.
And for those of us who could get an MQTT client working, we were able to subscribe to notifications and see those come through, which is great. Thomas told me that at the moment you're building an EDR endpoint as well. Is that right? Yeah. So that's coming, and once that's there, that will provide the polygons and what have you, and those will be able to be displayed in GeoWeb and other EDR clients, which is cool, but it's not ready yet.
We already built it, but the metadata had some issues, and which we figured it out during the workshop. So
So this is more like a hackathon than a workshop, right? Okay, cool. Let me just go back through the day. So, what did we learn about? So what I want is the interactive session here, because I'm not letting you off this early. So, do you remember at the beginning of the day we talked about the EDR profile? Yeah. Somebody give me a fact that they learned about the EDR profile. Come on. It wasn't that long ago.
Oh, their EDR profile?
About the one that Harvard was telling us about. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give you one. So Harvard, and his email address is harvardf@met.no, right? He wants some feedback on the profile, and so we will share it with all the people here. We will also, Harvard will work with me, so we'll get a review process set up within the EUMETNET expert team, so that we can give a stamp to it and say it's a stable version of a profile. Okay, so I'm going to pick on Stuart because he works with me at the Met Office and he can't get away with it. So Stuart, why is an EDR profile important?
Well, I guess it's a standard.
So when you follow it, you can quickly get connected to the aggregate.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There you go. Here's your prize. Here's some biscuits. I don't know who owns them, but you can have the biscuits and share. That was the only prize, by the way. Oh yeah, one at a time, right? I made that up. There is no prize giving. Okay, so that was great. So then we learned about the ESO service. So other than Stuart and Vigor, tell me something that you learned about that.
It's only for 24 hours.
Where I can system integration.
Yes, it's only 24 hours. Okay, grapes. You can see what this is now. Did you want grapes or not?
Yeah,
There you
you can share,
go. Okay, I got a half empty packet of biscuits.
That's on focus.
Okay, what was the thing that you learned that you wanted people to know?
About diesel.
Yeah. Yeah, what did you know? What did you learn, or what do you want them to remember?
I think the most important thing is that we still need users to have a system that works.
Yeah.
And that's.
So by users, is that the data consumers or the people providing the data?
Data provider.
So
we need data in ESO.
Okay.
And that seems to be a bit troublesome. But I guess that if more countries are coming in, it will be easier for the rest
To see how it works.
So we need some more examples, easy approach examples.
And Stuart, you wanted one more data provider in. Did I see that we had Canada, which is like almost European?
That doesn't count.
Oh, it's the GTS.
Because that's a GTS connection. So you just
right.
plug the GTS in and any data on the GTS.
cheat code.
Sorry, that's cheating. But we did have one observation from Denmark.
We still have the faith in.
So I'm not sure that counts to meet my criteria, one observation from one country, but
It's marginal. It's marginal.
one time.
So who's got data in at the moment?
So the three partners, the FMI, KMI, and MET.
Okay. Okay.
That should be helpful to have this cheating style. So the GTS part of it, just delivering the.
So if
this helps you.
Well, we're reluctant to that because the GTS only has data, so it only has hourly and not every station. The spirit of ESO is high temporal resolution and high spatial.
And it's not only that, so it's compliance with HVD regulations, just putting the GTS feed in would not make any of the members compliant.
This is not my question. My question is, if your request is having more data.
Yeah.
So we are following still the regulations, delivering via GPS or they put our regulation report.
Yeah.
And if you just need more data, then we could easily multiply this.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be much better than waiting for you to implement some JSON script. So having you to send your cluster file that we send to GTS today, send it to us, and we will send it to phase 2. And you will be ready to turn off GTS. Or not turn off GTS, but you will. So that would be
Cool.
Then we can decouple this two steps.
But if we could ingest all the GTS data today, but as Willie tries to not to do that, because then we will just throttle the problem over to 2029 when GTS is turned off.
No, we will solve it. It's not that we make the hopes that it's just if it helps you.
It doesn't, because what we want is data from members that makes them, that member compliant with the HVD regulation and the JTS because and we could very easily just fill the whole thing with GTS states. But we would very, very quickly get, and we've turned it on publicly, we very, very quickly get swamped by requests from people that know fine well that that's not all of the data that we have that would make us compliant.
Then we don't do it and you keep it as an option in the paper.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting and review. It's nice to see you.
It's the paper we don't do.
If you don't do 10.
We do the risk implementation and then we see this.
Yeah.
So not this where the current
If you just take the GTS data, it'll make it look like countries don't need to do any work, and that's not a good signal.
No.
Right?
But
So,
One comment about that. So some countries already send stuff to these two with all the stations and all the time frequency. I think you get 20%.
So I think
Sweden certainly does that. So in that case, I think it'd be okay.
So I think we need to, says countries like, I think the UK does it. I think Hungary actually put the data, 10-minute data on the GTS. So I think going probably in those two countries, then we probably just need them to confirm that that is their high temporal spatial resolution, and then we'll ingest those data. But
I think it's still better to get the 1 hourly data that's sent out from GTS today than not getting it, because it could be that countries then will wait until GTS is turned off and then suddenly do some other. But it's better to have good coverage over the whole Europe than having only higher resolution data. That's my
so I think nobody will come to the API then, because they'll say.
Because then you could.
So we've had this conversation maybe 20 times. Do we include the GTS or don't we? We've changed our minds 20 times.
I've never changed my mind. I've always stuck to my mind. You know that. My problem is, and we know what it's like, if we come up with a fix, it will stick there.
Yes, sure.
And we don't, because it will stick there. Nobody will change it until.
And as David says, then we have an API nobody uses because it doesn't have any data.
Yes, quite, and we will not be compliant with HVD as well.
As long as you cover the core requirements in GTS today, then you will cover these 2 requirements of core data. And that should be okay, because additional data would be for those countries that actually have additional data. So if you're a country that buys weather stations, and the only requirement of the buying is to fulfill the core requirements, then you will never get high resolution, and then it should be the best data we have.
So here's the takeaway message for everybody who's online and in the room. Please think about getting the highest resolution of land surface observation data you can, ingested into the back end of ESO using the JSON delivery mechanism, right? So that's a takeaway. Please do that. That would be awesome. French and Denmark, I think you're really close.
We believe
you
you.
can wait 3 weeks, right?
Working on that.
Excellent. It'll be done by the time you leave tonight, right? Yeah, cool. So that was ESO. Then, if you remember what happened next, we had radar, right? Okay. So what did we learn about radar? What's it called? Can you remember what the API is called? Okay, sorry, I'm just way too excited. It's not because we're nearing the end of the day. So, Open Radar Data API. What did we learn about that? Anything come to mind? I know you've got something on your mind, Nico. What did you learn?
That, well, I knew it from before.
Well, that's okay.
The main problem is solved because Opera is shuffling data from all Opera countries into the system. So it's more like a use case for the end user.
Yeah.
But then we could add local composites as well, and that's a good thing.
Cool. Okay. Anything from anybody else on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I still have my question. I will be able to publish notifications about radar data available in O2 notification.
So this is like publishing a notification that the radar data is available?
Yes, as recommended, but O2.
I think so. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Oasis software, if you give it a new radar data file, it will generate a notification that says this file is available.
We have 2 different ways out. So one is the general MQTT, which is public, and then like for ESO, we have the core, well, the WIS2 data. So it's not been decided yet, I think, to send radar data out on WIS2 because it's not on GTS today, but it will be sent out on the general MQTT.
I think that creating a notification message in the ORD queue and finding the right topic for recommended data on WIS2 would be great. So please add the WIS2 queue. That would be great.
Also,
What?
the MeteoGate.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have APIs, we have a broker, in this case is global software, and then the global catalog. These 2 components are from WIS2. So we should send it to WIS2, even for the data that doesn't exist in the GTS kernel.
Agree, because WMO is expanding the breadth of the data that it makes available.
And regardless, we made the choice to use the WMO components as part of the MeteoGate, so we need to use it.
Yeah, so, and because it's recommended data, we can put access control in place. We could release it free and open, but it doesn't have to be. So I think that's all really important stuff.
Are you talking about on WIS2?
Yeah.
Because it should be released free and open through MeteoGate.
It is, but there's still an access control requiring an API key for some, for example, the Dutch data, right? So that's okay as recommended.
No, not for HVD regulation, but for WIS2, yes, possibly.
Let's talk about that after. We disagree with our opinion. So what I learned, let me see if I can remember what I learned. I learned that we've got a little bit of work to do to figure out how to deal with API keys coming from different data providers, because otherwise we'll end up with you having to register in a patchwork of different systems, have a different API key for the Dutch, a different one for the Danes, and so on. And we're going to try and fix that in a way which is seamless. So there's a bit of work to do, right?
And we had the solution.
We had the solution, some kind of system
pre-signed URL
system key, or that they're using for the connection between the proxy and the individual services. Always use the same key. And have some spatial.
That kind of works, but it's a bit blunt, right?
Yeah, but how is it?
But so the other way that we talked about was potentially doing the same thing that you've done, which is publishing the pre-signed URL into the system, so it's like already pre-authorized at that stage, right? Anyway, so we need to look at that a little bit further, and I think that Paul and the team are going to go talk to their data platforms people. Okay, so then we had climate, right? What did we learn about climate? We learned that Mali's had to leave early.
That it is about crosshair.
Yes. So, interestingly, what we tried to do was take the EDR, take the Dutch EDR endpoint, which is great. Thank you, anybody who's from Netherlands still listening. Thank you for getting that far. We tried to load that, connect that into GeoWeb. But the cause headers things with web development, they weren't set, so it wouldn't work in GeoWeb. We've sent Paul an email. Hopefully that should be fixed real soon, and then we'll be able to display hourly and daily climate data at least from Netherlands, in GeoWeb. So we'll be able to see time series of the data that's available, which again would be really cool because this is beginning to come together from the years of talking about concepts and only having PowerPoint. Now we've got actual applications and data that we can fiddle with, which is great. So, anything else about climate that we learned? Go on.
They will help you to build an EDR API.
Yeah.
Based on the EDR profile.
Yeah.
That has been developed in earlier.
So this is like a deployable piece of software that people can stick on their own premise.
I think you have to make your EDR API yourself, but you learn how to.
Okay.
So for climate data,
yeah.
Yes, you need an EDR API in your MMS that you can then either attach to the client aggregator or straight through MeteoGate bypassing the aggregator.
Cool. Well, there's lots of choices for those who are Python people. IGU API has an EDR interface available on it, so lots of choices. But there's a bit of work to do, so that's all cool. And how about the last session of the day, the one that we had disco beats and energy from our friends from the warnings team? What did we learn about that? Come on, it wasn't that long ago. Give me a bone, right? Come on.
To query for warnings filtering and then just subscribe to those.
Excellent. Yeah. And does it need an API key?
Nope. Nope. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
I don't have to kind of stick there.
But it gives you back the response gives you back a pre-signed URL that you can then access.
With an EDR API for alert,